And what about commodities? Here we have the Reuters CRB index. As you can see, from the highs of the end of the 70s, it took 2.5 decades to reach the same highs. So it's quite a lesson of what can happen again with commodities. And that for oil prices, the spike of 91 in oil prices was not overcome until 1.5 decades later. So if history is any guide, commodity prices will not likely surpass its highs of 2008 for years to come, and oil prices will top $90 per barrel for very short periods in coming years. When economies destabilize, it is quite complicated and takes quite a lot of time to put them back on track. In the last century, this has happened on at least 3 occasions, from the beginning of the 20th century until 1921, from 1929 to 1950, and from 1965 to 82. Then have we started a new period of this kind in 2000, 2007, and question open. This is what happened at the beginning of the 20th century. 6 recessions in the US economy between the beginning of the century and 1921, and expansions in between with 20 months average duration. What you see there is the Dow Jones Industrials that went sideways for 20 years. This happened between 29 and 50, 4 recessions with 55 months average expansion periods in between, and a sideways movement. And this one is better known, from 65 to 82, 4 recessions in the US economy with 36 months average expansion periods in between. So the average expansion period ranges from 22, 36 to 55, between almost 2 and 5 years. If we do an average with that, we have 3 years. The minimum is around 1 year. The minimum expansion period is around 1 year and takes place on 3 occasions, 1912, 19, and 80-81. So 1 year expansion periods have a frequency of 13%. This is why people say that we will see a double dip this year, have their prophecy or their forecasting with a low probability associated. So my forecast was this one in May last year. The Dow Jones would recover most of what it lost between 2007 and 2009, and then back again with 2 recessions. For the time being, part of this forecast is correct because the Dow Jones Industrials was then, in May 2009, around 8,000, and it went to 10,700. And this is the adaptation now, which is very similar, but updating the chart. And from 2017, 2018 on, what will promote growth? I think, first of all, the exhaustion of the old deals. Next to it, China's political transition overcome. And finally, new technology applications. And of course, the banking system finally recapitalized. Ernest Rutherford used to say the old science is either physics or stamp collecting. What I have done this evening is salt collecting, so thank you very much and good night. And then, just in case, questions and answers. I only have a good question, a good answer. Because the pattern forced that. I think when you look for historical patterns, the real reason of that is an accumulation of circumstances that makes the pattern happen. So, but of course, in fact, because the disequilibriums of the 60s and 70s were overcome because syndicates' strength became much lower, because the world economies get used to employ oil in a more rational way, and finally, because the readjustment made by the competition between Japan, Germany, and the US found, let's say, a field, a level field. And I was saying at the beginning of my speech that I think this is not different, because I think this will be a historical pattern similar to the ones we have seen in the 20th century. I know the sample is very small to be completely reliable, but that's all what we have. Okay, thank you.